In July 2022, Poland signed the largest arms contract in its history. 1,000 K2 Black Panther main battle tanks from South Korea, plus 672 K9 Thunder self-propelled howitzers, plus 48 FA-50 combat aircraft. The total value exceeded $14 billion. Poland, a NATO member with access to American and German defense industries, the nations that had built the Abrams and the Leopard 2, chose a South Korean tank that most European defense analysts had never assessed, produced by a country whose defense export record before 2022 had been modest. The question every defense journalist asked after the announcement was the same: why Korea? The answer was speed, capability, and a manufacturing relationship that would eventually put Korean-designed tanks rolling off Polish production lines, something neither the American nor German manufacturers had offered. But before any of that mattered, the K2 Black Panther had to be worth buying, and the data suggested it was. To understand why South Korea built the K2, you need to understand South Korea's specific threat environment. South Korea shares a border with North Korea. The Korean People's Army operates the largest tank fleet in Asia, approximately 4,300 vehicles, mostly Soviet-era T-54, T-55, T-62, and T-72 derivatives, with Chinese and domestic variants mixed in. South Korean military planners in the early 1990s looked at that number and reached a conclusion that shaped the K2's design brief. Quantity had to be met with quality. South Korea could not match North Korea's numbers. It had to defeat them vehicle for vehicle, with sufficient margin that numerical inferiority did not translate into military vulnerability. The K2 design program began at Hyundai Rotem, South Korea's primary defense vehicle manufacturer, in 1995. The requirements were specific and ambitious. A 1,220mm smoothbore gun firing the same NATO standard ammunition as the Leopard 2 and Abrams, ensuring ammunition compatibility with South Korea's American ally. A fire control system that could achieve first-round hit probability against moving targets at 3,000 meters while the K2 itself was moving. An active protection system that could defeat incoming anti-tank missiles before they struck the hull. An autoloader that eliminated one crew member, reducing crew from 4 to 3 and reducing the human cost of intensive operations. And the weight had to stay below 55 tons, light enough for South Korea's bridge network and road infrastructure. What Hyundai Rotem produced after 19 years of development was a vehicle that, when its specification was compared against the Leopard 2A7 and M1A2 SEP-V3, stood alongside rather than beneath them in every measurable category and exceeded them in several. The K2's gun is the Rheinmetall 120mm L55 smoothbore, the same long-barrel version fitted to the Leopard 2A6 and considered the most capable production tank gun in the world. The autoloader feeds the gun at a rate of 15 rounds per minute in automatic mode, faster than any human loader can achieve. The fire control system is the combat system of the 21st century, developed domestically with South Korean electronics. It incorporates a hunter-killer engagement mode, where the commander and gunner can simultaneously track and engage two separate targets. The commander acquires target B, while the gunner engages target A. When target A is destroyed, the gun automatically slews to target B's position. First-round hit probability against a moving 2.3 by 2.3 meter target at 2,000 meters, while the K2 is itself moving, was demonstrated in trials at greater than 90%. The armor is composite, incorporating layers of steel, ceramics and reactive elements in a configuration that South Korea's Agency for Defense Development has not fully disclosed. External comparison with the Leopard 2A7's protection levels suggests broadly comparable frontal arc performance. The K2's ERA packages on the turret sides provide additional protection in specific threat scenarios. The Active Protection System, designated CAPS, uses a radar to detect incoming threats and launches a countermeasure to intercept them before impact. This is the same principle as the Israeli trophy system on the Merkava Menk 4. The engine is a 1,500 horsepower MTU diesel, the same power plant used in the Leopard 2, licensed from Germany and produced in South Korea. In a vehicle weighing 55 tons, it produces a power-to-weight ratio of 27 horsepower per ton, identical to the Leopard 2. Top road speed is 70 kilometers per hour. Cross-country speed is 50 kilometers per hour. The suspension is a hydropneumatic unit that can vary the vehicle's ground clearance and tilt the hull, allowing the driver to lower the vehicle's silhouette when approaching a ridge, raise it for water crossing, or adjust trim for hillside operations. The K2 is fully amphibious with a snorkel system capable of crossing water obstacles up to 4.1 meters deep. One capability that has no direct equivalent in Western main battle tanks is the K2's terrain self-adaptation system. The suspension automatically adjusts to maintain hull stability across uneven terrain, compensating for roll and pitch in real time. The gun stabilization system remains accurate regardless of what the suspension is doing. The K2 entered South Korean Army service in 2014. The Republic of Korea Army operates 260 vehicles in the initial contract, with a follow-on order bringing the total toward 400. The export record before 2022 was limited. A small number of vehicles had been demonstrated to interested parties. Negotiations had been conducted with several nations. No major contract had materialized. Then Russia invaded Ukraine. Poland's response to the invasion was the most dramatic military expansion in post-Cold War European history. Warsaw committed to building an army of 300,000 soldiers, doubling its tank fleet, and replacing every piece of Soviet-era equipment in its inventory. The requirement was for equipment that could be delivered fast, in large numbers, with manufacturing partnerships that would ensure Polish production capability rather than permanent import dependency. South Korea offered all three. Hyundai Rotem could deliver initial K2 tanks from South Korean production within months of contract signature. The follow-on agreement committed to transferring production to Poland under the designation K2PL, with Polish manufacturers contributing components and eventually assembling vehicles domestically. The $14 billion contract signed in July 2022 was the result. 1,000 K2 Black Panthers. 218 delivered from South Korean stocks in 2022 and 2023, the remainder to be built in Poland through the 2020s and to the technology transfer agreement. Poland's choice sent a message to the European defense industry that was both strategic and commercial. If you cannot deliver on our timeline, we will find someone who can. South Korea could deliver. South Korea did deliver. The K2s that arrived in Poland were not developmental vehicles. They were production units from an assembly line that had been running since 2014. Crews trained on them found the transition from German Leopard 2 vehicles to the K2 required adjustment, particularly with the autoloader's integration into fire procedures. But the fundamental capability the K2 offered was immediately apparent to Polish tank crews: the hunter-killer engagement mode. The active protection system, the suspension that adapted to terrain in real time, equipment that existing Western systems did not provide. The K2's significance within the broader context of global tank development is that it represents the arrival of a third tier of main battle tank manufacturer alongside the established American and European industries. South Korea was not supposed to build tanks, it was supposed to buy them from America. Under the framework of the US-South Korea defense relationship that had defined Korean military procurement since 1953, the K2 program represented South Korea's decision that domestic capability mattered more than procurement convenience. 19 years of development, domestic fire control, domestic armor, German engine licensed and domestically produced, American ammunition caliber adopted, Israeli active protection concept incorporated and domestically developed. The K2 synthesized the best available concepts from multiple sources and integrated them into a vehicle that, when Poland evaluated it in 2022, was judged superior to every Western alternative for the specific combination of price, delivery speed, and technology transfer terms Poland required. For South Korea, it was the culmination of a defense industry development program that began when the country had almost no indigenous military manufacturing capability and ended with the largest tank export contract in history. 1,000 tanks, $14 billion, a NATO ally defending its eastern border with Korean engineering. The unknown tank that Poland chose over Leopard 2 and Abrams is now the fastest proliferating Western-capable main battle tank in Europe, and it was built in a country that most of Europe had never thought to ask.